Hari Om. Parvati Bhagini, you can start your self-greeting.
हरि ओम भगिनी. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः. हरि ओम भगिनी.
Hari Om. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear clearly.
Okay, thank you. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So, we are actually seeing the 10th chapter, and in the first 11 verses of this chapter, Lord Krishna gave the essence of the teaching, which is the basis for the Vibhuti Yoga, and which is the basis for Vishwarupa Darshanam also. This basis is very important for us to remember, right? So, Ishvara consists of Para and Apara Prakriti, and Para Prakriti is basically the cause of the universe, and Apara Prakriti, Maya, along with a Brahman, manifest as the entire universe, right? So we should parallelly remember that cause alone expresses or manifests in the form of all the products. So remembering the example of gold, right, which is alone the cause of all ornaments, or say wood is the cause of all furniture. Similarly, Bhagavan is the cause alone and who manifests or expresses as the entire creation, and therefore everything is nothing but Bhagavan in different nama and rupa. So just as ornaments are gold plus different forms like bangle, ring, etc., right? And furniture is also, different forms like table, chair, etc. This entire creation is essentially Bhagavan appearing with different nama and rupa, or names and forms, right? So from this, we are going to derive two important corollaries. So in the 10th chapter, we are going to understand that whatever glorious things are there in the universe, all the glories ultimately belong to Ishvara only, right? So later in this chapter, Lord Krishna will tell, even if individuals have, say, different glories, like somebody is a great musician, somebody is a born mathematician, a genius, somebody is a beautiful painter, Krishna says all of those are expressions of Bhagavan's glory only. This appreciation, right, is Vibhuti Darshanam. Thus, in the 10th chapter, we are taking all the glorious things in the creation and we are seeing them as Bhagavan. The second important corollary, right, which is, in the 11th chapter, where we are going to go one more step further and which is more difficult to swallow and assimilate, but compulsory for spiritual growth, is the vision that the 11th chapter actually presents. In 10th, we are talking about the glorious things in this creation, right, and seeing as Bhagavan. In the 11th chapter, we are not going to be making any differentiation between the good, the bad, right, the beautiful, the ugly ones. We are going to take everything as the manifestation of the Lord only. Birth as well as death, right, everything. So they're all opposites we claim as manifestation of the Lord only. And therefore, an important extension is you can neither claim anything as wonderful and love them, or you cannot hate anything terrible also. Neither raga is allowed nor dvesha is allowed. So learning to look at the whole creation as Ishvara and therefore replacing raga dvesha with a reverential attitude, that is going to be the 11th chapter. So the universal reverential attitude is called Vishwarupa Bhakti, which is the culmination of Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. And only when we cross this difficult stage, right, this reverential attitude towards everything, right? And Swamiji always says, reverential attitude doesn't mean that, you know, if you see a poisonous cobra, you go and put your hand next to it, or, you know, cause it to kill you or anything. You can take precautions, do all that, but treat everything as appropriate, right? Never hate anything in the creation. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, right? Nobody or nothing in this world actually deserves hatred, right? So even though Bhagavan can give this as a homework, having taught all of this, right? Because we can choose all the wonders of the world as the creation itself, Arjuna says here that I actually don't want to be doing this homework, right? Why don't you, Krishna, right, give me a list of wonderful things which I can use as a symbol or alambanam and practice upasana. So Lord Krishna also as a guru and as a friend and as a relative, he's got extraordinary compassion for Arjuna, and therefore Lord Krishna is going to concede to his request. Now, for some of the students, these chapters, right, appeal more than Jnana Yoga chapter. And we did have a few people actually ask these questions even during the previous sessions, saying that Jnana Yoga is too abstract, etc. So Gita actually has a variety of chapters to suit different kinds of audience, and also make sure that they are interested, stay interested and pursue this journey, right? And slowly they will go from Karma Yoga to Upasana Yoga to Jnana Yoga. So Vibhuti Yoga is more, you know, at that level where you appreciate God and his glory, Ishvara and his glories in different forms. So continuing, so we had to see verse 18. Vistarenatmano yogam, Vistarenatmano yogam, Vibhutim cha janardana, Vibhutim cha janardana, Bhuyak kataya triptirhi, Bhuyak kataya triptirhi, Shunvato nasti me mritam, Shunvato nasti me mritam. Hey Janardana. Janardana is the name of the Lord, right? Here it has several meanings, and we can take the following contextual meanings. Janaihi ardayate yachyate iti Janardana, which means to seek for or to ask for. So the one to whom, right, you plead, or the one who is pleaded to. We all plead to Bhagavan, pray to Bhagavan, seek variety of things from Bhagavan, right? Since all the world of bhaktas seek varieties of things from Bhagavan, Bhagavan is called Janardana. In this world, all the bhaktas seek varieties of things from Bhagavan, right? Therefore, he is called Janardana, right? The one who receives continuous application forms. Some will want money, right? Some will actually give forms with, you know, fees. Some may not give fees. All kinds of application forms will come to Janardana, right? So continuous receivers of application forms. What does he receive? Why does he receive? Because he fulfills, right? Like what happens is people continuously keep going to Tirupati, right? Not once, twice. Continuously you keep giving applications and you receive something and go back again and again, right? So Bhagavan is called Janardana, right? Arjuna says, I am also giving you an application form, right? But this is for the description of your glory. Vistaren Atmano Yogam Vibhutim. Very elaborately, Atmanaha Yogam, your own power of omnipotence as well as the glories, right? Which are the expressions of yourself because of your omnipotence, right? So yoga is your cause and vibhuti is the effect. So omnipotence is the cause and expressions are the effect. Karya karana sambandha. So both of them, vistarena atmanaha. Here atmanaha is reflexive pronoun, basically yourself, right? So may you enumerate about yourself. Then Arjuna feels that hearing this, as I told you in the last class, Lord Krishna may become disappointed. Why? Because Lord Krishna has already talked about his glories in the 7th and 9th chapter. I told you some few shlokas also. Example, Balam Balavatam Asmi, Kamaraga Vivarjitam in 7th chapter, and 9th chapter also he said Pitahamasya Jagataha Mata Dhata Pitamaha. Right? So Arjuna is asking again for the list of glories. So Lord Krishna may feel at that time Arjuna has slept. So Lord Krishna may become disappointed, right? And because he has only one Shishya, right? At least when, teachers teach in a group or Swamiji teaches to hundreds of students, there are so many more students. But here Krishna has only one Arjuna, right? So therefore what becomes is, Swamiji always jokes, he says in a wedding, normally very sad when they call a lot of, very accomplished orchestra and musician to come and sing. And in the reception, nobody sits in front of them and listens, right? So Krishna is also in similar state because Arjuna is the only student. So Arjuna is also worried that Krishna may think that Arjuna did not listen to him at all, right? Therefore, specifically, he says, Lord, you have already talked about your glories. I have heard it also. I remember it also, but now I am asking you for more. Bhuyaha kataya. Right? I have not forgotten. I just want more details. Triptihi nasti. I am not satisfied. The more I listen, I enjoy. Therefore, I am not satiated. I want more. Right? Because the description is me amritam. For my ears, it is nectar, and therefore, please elaborate. Right? So up to this is Arjuna's glorification. Now Lord Krishna is going to respond. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Hantate Katayishyami Hantate Katayishyami Divyahyatma Vibhutayah Divyahyatma Vibhutayah Pradhanyatah Kuru Shrestha Pradhanyatah Kuru Shrestha Nastyanto Vistarasya Me Nastyanto Vistarasya Me. So Lord Krishna is appreciating Arjuna's Shraddha and Bhakti. He decides to fulfill Arjuna's desire, but says, Hey Arjuna, I shall fulfill your desire not totally, but only partially. Right? Because you asked for a complete list of all my glories. Asheshataha means complete list without any exception. Lord Krishna says, complete list of my glories, even I cannot give because it is infinite in number. Therefore, nobody can exhaust the glories of the Lord, even if I have omniscience and omnipotence, and I am willing to give you all the list, you will not be alive to listen to all because you have a limited duration. There is one great Bhakta by name Pushpadanta Kavi, right, who has written Shiva Mahimna Stotram. And I thought it's a very nice stotram and I must pull it up for you. So it goes this way. Asita Giri Samam Syat Kajjalam Sindhu Patre Sura Taruvara Shakha Lekhani Patra Mudvi Likhati Yadi Grihitva Sharada Sarvakalam Tadapi Tava Gunanamisha Paramna Yati. This is about the glory of Lord Shiva, a very famous stotram. I understand, and in the north it is very, very popular. In the south, I have not heard of this, so maybe it's not that popular. But here the author writes the glories of Lord Shiva, and at the end he tells how one cannot exhaust the glory, right? There he gives a beautiful imagery. Asita Giri Samam Syat. Suppose we've got a container of ink, and what is the amount of ink in that? Its weight is as much as that of the Himalaya mountain. Imagine the weight of Himalayas, right? That much weight of ink is available. And where do you store that ink? Kajjalam Sindhu Patre. You empty all the ocean and fill up with this ink, right? And Sura Taru Vara Shakha Lekani Patra Murvi. You make fountain pens, right? Out of all the trees of the world, right? Those days pens were made out of the trees, right? For what? For filling the ink and writing, right? And how many letter pads you will need, right? Here the Kavi is saying, you use the entire surface of the earth for writing. Sura Taru Vara Shaka Lekani Patra Murvi Likhati Yadi Grihitva Sharada Sarvakale. Sharada means Saraswati. Suppose she plans to write with so many fountain pens, mountain of ink, if she writes, right, and fills up for how many years? Sarvakalam, for eternity, right? She keeps writing. What does the author say? Tadapi tava gunana misha param na yati. Saraswati will not be able to complete this. Very beautiful shloka. I've given you the link to the entire shloka, and on YouTube you can also find the recordings. So every PhD in this world, right, that of everyone, whoever is talking about, all that glory belongs to the Lord only, right? Therefore, Lord Krishna says, well, Anta Arjuna, Divya Hyatma Vibhutayaha Te Kataishyami. So certainly I will give you a list of my glories. So from verse 20 of this 10th chapter, right, of this current chapter, Vibhuti Yoga, up to 41st verse, almost the end of the chapter, I am going to enlist all my glories. But note, Pradhanyataha Kurushreshta. Even though I give a very big list, that will be only the main ones, the primary glories. Why am I going to give you only the primary glories? Nastyanto Vistarasya me. Right? Antaha. Hope you understand. There is no end to my glory. So with this, Lord Krishna introduces, and from 20th verse onwards, we get a list of vibhutis, right? Oh, somebody says that they chanted it constantly. Yes, it's a very, very a common shloka in North. Very nice. Continuing. Ahamatma Gudakesha, Ahamatma Gudakesha, Sarvabhutashayastitaha, Sarvabhutashayastitaha, Ahamadischa Madhyam cha, Ahamadischa Madhyam cha, Bhutanamanta eva cha. Bhutanamanta eva cha. A very important verse, worth getting by heart. Actually, whenever and wherever I put these green stars, they are part of around 110 or 115 shlokas of the Gita that is worth getting by heart. Hopefully, I will also consolidate and put it up at some point in time. So this verse, Bhagavan is starting the glories. Since Bhagavan is the cause, and since Bhagavan alone manifests as the entire creation, right? Bhagavan must be pervading the entire creation. This is called Antaryami Tattvam, right? Which is the unique teaching of Hinduism. In most of the other religions, Bhagavan is always kept as a extraordinary entity somewhere far away. Father is in the heaven, right? Or something like that. In our scriptures also, we talk about Brahma in Brahmaloka, Vishnu in Vishnu Loka, etc. But that is all only in the beginning stages, right? Later, we try to change our concept, right? Bhagavan is in and through our entire creation because the cause always pervades our product, right? So again, going back to the gold and the wood example, gold pervades all the ornaments. Wood is the inner essence of all the furniture. Water is the inner essence of all the ocean as well as the waves, right? So similarly, Bhagavan, the cause, must be pervading the entire creation. This is called Antaryami. Sarvantaryami is a very significant description of Bhagavan. So if Bhagavan pervades the entire creation, it means what? Para Prakriti must be pervading and Apara Prakriti also must be pervading. So first, Lord Krishna wants to talk about the Para Prakriti aspect, which is subtle and difficult. Therefore, he gives this for mature students with a subtle intellect, right? So for advanced Uttama Adhikaris, Para Prakriti manifestation he talks about first, and thereafter for Manda or Madhyama Adhikari, Bhagavan talks about Prakriti, Apara Prakriti manifestation. So where is the Para Prakriti available in the creation? In the 7th chapter itself we saw in the form of consciousness, which is without C, A and D, which is without changes, attributes and without divisions, right? So we saw that in the 7th chapter, right? And Apara Prakriti alone is modified and evolved and becomes the entire universe of the 14 lokas, right? So Apara Prakriti is the matter principle, right? So now in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna said, once the Apara Prakriti bodies are created, the all-pervading consciousness must be there within the body also, because it is all pervading, right? It must be there within the body. What is the example we saw for this, right? The space is all pervading, and when you make a pot out of the mud, the all pervading space must be within the pot also. So this space is called what? The space inside the pot is called enclosed space. Thus, before making the pot, there is this all-pervading space, and as many pots are there, those many enclosed spaces will be there. So similarly, Lord Krishna said that every body, right, is like a pot, right? So from earth it came, right? Like the pot that came from earth and it goes back into earth. Every body has also come from the Panchabhutas and will go back into the Panchabhutas, right? So consciousness is exactly like space and it is enclosed within every body. And this enclosed consciousness alone is called Jivatma. And the all-pervading consciousness is called Paramatma, right? So the very same Paramatma, when it is available within the body, right? It is not divided within the body, right? So it is the Jivatma when it is within the body, right? So when it is outside, it is Paramatma, right? And it is Avachinna Chaitanyam. That means not divided, right? So Para Prakriti obtained in every body is Jivatma, right? So Para Prakriti, which is obtained in every body, right, is the enclosed consciousness, right? So if the Jivatma does not have this enclosed consciousness, what will happen to the body? It will become a dead body, right? So the Jivatma is nothing but the Para Prakriti, right? Therefore, Lord Krishna said in the 7th chapter, Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yaedam Daryate Jagat, in the 5th verse, right? So he said that Para Prakriti is in everyone in the form of consciousness. The body is Apara Prakriti. Sentiousness, sentiency in the body is Para Prakriti. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, Aham Atma Gudakesha. Gudakesha I highlighted because it is a very special name, right? Worth remembering. Gudaka means Nidra, sleep, right? Tasyaha Ishaha, the one who is a master of sleep. Because when you're attending class, you should not sleep off, right? So Arjuna was such an attentive student as well, right? And he had a mastery on sleep. So he was called Gudakesha. Contrast this with Hrishikesha, who is Krishna, who had mastery over the sense organs. This is a difference, right? So Gudakesha is master of sleep, and the other meaning is of course Gudaha plus Kesha, which is the thick-haired person or Ganakeshaha. So Aham, hey Arjuna, I, especially the Paraprakriti part of me, is Atma, right? I am the enclosed consciousness in every living being. Not only human beings, even mosquito, right? If it is alive, it is because I am pervading that, right? It has got life sentiency, and that is also Paraprakriti. Therefore, I am the Jivatma, and where do I reside? Sarva Bhutashaya Sthitaha. In each and every living being, right? I reside. And the essentiency of the mind alone gets pervaded in the entire body, right? And that is why in our culture, the physical body is often compared to a temple. This is very unique to Hinduism, right? Deho Devalaya Prokta. So those people who do the daily puja, they will know the shloka. They have to regularly chant before the puja. Deho Devalaya Prokto Jivo Devo Sanatana. Every body is a temple. The physical body is the temple, the heart and mind is the sanctum sanctorum. So the consciousness, the Sakshi Chaitanyam is Ishvara. So in the Shiva Manasa Puja also, if you remember, we said Atmanam Girjamatihi, right? Since every body is a temple, right? He or she carries the body within the, carries God within the body. God as Para Prakriti, right? Very important. And that is why in our culture, we never used to say hi, right? Or never used to, shake hands or anything. In Hinduism, the appropriate greeting or namaskar was always namaskaram or namaste. That is because when you are saying namaste, you are actually bowing to the God or Para Prakriti in the other person, right? Whether you say any language, vanakkam in Tamil or namaskaram or namaste, right? That is the reason that we do it. Today, with coronavirus, now we also know, and in fact, Pujya Swamiji in his lectures about 20 years back has talked about this, saying if you stick to namaste, you can avoid lot of bacteria and viral infections because we don't touch and therefore we don't unnecessarily contract these, right? Today it is so relevant in the context of the viral infection that we're all exposed to, right? So health wise also this is the safest greeting. And of course the fundamentals of Hinduism is revealed this way, saying that we actually see God in the opposite person, in every living being, right? Very, very important message. I am the Jivatma and Sarva Bhutasaya Shaya right? This is the description of Para Prakriti. Then he comes to the Apara Prakriti level. From the standpoint of the Apara Prakriti, Lord Krishna says, I am the Srishti Sthiti Laya Karanam of the entire universe, right? So from me, the Apara Prakriti alone, the entire material universe has evolved, including the body-mind complex. All of them will resolve back into Apara Prakriti, into the Avyakta state, right? So Lord Krishna says, Aham Adihi, right? Beginning, Srishti Karanam, Madhyam Cha, right? Sthiti, the survival is because of me alone, and Bhutanam Anta Cha, also the Laya Karanam or the resolution, right? In short, I am the Jagat Karanam. Therefore, I exist all the time in all the three kalas, right? So creation exists and it will crunch back also, but still it exists in the Avyakta form, and in all three periods of time, Ishvara exists. Adityanamaham Vishnuhu, Adityanamaham Vishnuhu, Jyotisham Raviram Shuman, Jyotisham Raviram Shuman, Marichir Marutamasmi, Marichir Marutamasmi, Nakshatra-namaham Shashi, Nakshatra-namaham Shashi. Okay. So Adityanam, right? The word Aditya has got the popular meaning of Suryaha or sun also. Yeah. So the word Aditya has got the popular meaning of Suryaha, right, or sun, and there is another meaning also. I think I'm going to be telling you a lot of stories little by little in this chapter because of the nature of this chapter, right? Aditya means Aditi Putraha, right? So in the Puranas, they talk about several Prajapatis. Prajapatis means Lord of all born beings from whom the Srishti came about, right? 14 Prajapatis are talked about, and one important Prajapati is Kashyapa Prajapati. For him, there were two wives named Diti and Aditi. So the children born of Aditi are called Aditya, and the children born of Diti are called Daityaha. All the Adityas were noble-minded ones, Devas. All the Daityas were Ashuras, right? The father is the same Kashyapa Prajapati, but he had Devas and Ashuras born out of Aditi and Aditi. So philosophically speaking, they say one individual alone, when he is Sattva Guna Pradhana, he gets all wonderful thoughts, positive thoughts, right? So sometimes we ourselves wonder, right? How do we suddenly get such good thoughts, and at sometimes we swing to the opposite extent also. So even Kashyapa Prajapati had both these, right? So there is the mind goes through different kinds of emotions, etc., right? So even noble people, sometimes we manage to look at negatively, right? When the mind is sattvic, even ignoble people we will sympathize, right? We will say, oh, look at the background, they are suffering, maybe that's why the thoughts are coming, etc. Thus our mind itself is a very tricky mind, right? So to convey this idea, the Puranas talk about one Kashyapa Prajapati having Devas and Ashuras as the children. So Devas are called Aditya and Ashuras are called Daityas, right? So to Aditi alone, Bhagavan was born as Vamana. So Vamana Avataram is Bhagavan himself coming out of Aditi. Therefore, the relevance here is Lord Krishna says, I am the great Vamana Avatara among all the Aditya Devatas, because Vamana the Aditya is Ishvara Avatara himself. So therefore Aditya Namaham Vishnuhu. Here the word Vishnuhu refers to Vamana Avatara. All the Puranic stories we need to remember when we read the 10th chapter, right? So we'll see however much we can cover, we will cover, right? Then Jyotisham Raviram Shumam. Among all the luminaries in the sky, I am the most powerful Surya Bhagavan. In our scriptures in general, including Puranas, everywhere Surya Bhagavan is given a very, very important status as Pratyaksha Devata. That is why, right, we have to get up even before the sunrise, right? We should be ready to welcome the Surya Bhagavan, doing Namaskara to him. So along with that, we practice Surya Namaskara also, right? So starting the day with Surya Namaskara. So Lord Krishna says, I am Bhagavan Aditya, worshipped by the Vaidikas all the time. So the rising sun is worshipped and the noon sun is worshipped during Madhyanika Sandhya Vandanam, and also the setting sun is also worshipped, right? Therefore, Jyotisham, right, among the luminaries, I am the Surya Bhagavan. Marichir Marutamasmi. Marut refers to Vayu Bhagavan. All natural forces are symbolized as Devatas, right? Because Vaidikas always appreciated the glory of nature. They lived in nature, they lived in harmony with nature. They revered the nature. They revered the Panchabhutas, right? So Vayu Devata is called Marutaha here, right? Even though Vayu is only one, he has got so many expressions. We ourselves know a simple depression, a deep depression, a cyclonic storm, severe cyclonic storm, tornadoes, etc. Right? So Vayu alone is in different versions, and in fact, we have easterly wind, westerly winds, etc. And in our culture, we had in our, if you see the tradition, we have the names of all of these: Avaha, Pravaha, Vivaha, Paravaha, Udvaha, Samvaha, Parivaha, etc. Right? 7 kinds, and then they're further subdivided. And even for hurricane, there are special names, and among all of them, there are 49 Marut Devatas. And among them, the leader is Marichi. So I am Marichi, the gentle, beautiful, blessing Vayu Devata, the gentle one, right? The idea is the more we do this kind of appreciation, we will never exploit nature. So if you remember in our Karma Yoga under Panchamaha Yajna, we spoke about Bhuta Yajna. So this helps us develop a reverential attitude towards nature, right? Because our lifestyle has changed now, we've also started misusing the the nature, and there is no harmony with the nature, right? Which is now proven. Today we see in the news that people are able to see Kailasha, Everest, etc. from Nepal, Bihar, etc. The Dhaulagiri mountain range is seen, etc. Right? Just with 2.5 months of lockdown here, right? So, Marichihi Marutam Asmi. Lord Krishna says here, and Nakshatranam Aham Shashi, right? So now he talks about the luminaries which are obtained in the night, right? Nakshatra means night new luminaries. Earlier, Surya Bhagavan was included in the day, therefore he is now excluded. So in the night, he says amongst everybody, every luminary, I am the moon, right? Chandraha, Shashihi, right? So basically you have the entire the tithis etc based on the moon, the waxing and the waning of the moon, right? So Surya and Chandra represent the Kala Tattvam in our culture, right? Very many basic mantras talk about Surya and Chandra, right? So Lord Krishna says, I am Suryaha, I am Chandraha also. Continuing. Vedanam Samavedosmi, Vedanam Samavedosmi, Devanamasmi Vasavaha, Devanamasmi Vasavaha, Indriyanam Manaschasmi, Indriyanam Manaschasmi, Bhutanamasmi Chetana, Bhutanamasmi Chetana. So in those days, Vedas played a prominent part in the life of a Hindu. Therefore, they will always ask the question, which Veda you have studied, which Veda you belong to, right? Hindus were called Vaidikas because they followed the Vedic way of life, right? Later, we expanded it into Puranas, Agama, Itihasa, etc. But the original source is Veda only. So normally classified into 4. Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana Veda based on the type of mantra. Rig Veda is considered to be Padya Rupa mantra, mantra in poetical form. Yajur Veda is consisting of Gadya Rupa mantra, mantras in the form of prose, right? In the form of prose and in the form of poem in Rig Veda. Samaveda consists of Gana Rupa mantra, right? So Padya mantra, Gadya mantra and Gana mantra. That's why somebody actually, when they chant Samaveda, we say Sama Ganam, right? We don't say Rig Ganam or Yajur Ganam, right? So we say Rig Mantra Pada, Yajur Mantra Pada, right? So Pada is recitation, but Samaveda is not recitation. It is always singing. Therefore, very, very beautiful to hear. Music is always attractive. Atharvana Veda is anyway also another form where they don't sing, but it is another, the 4th Shaka, which is revealed by Atharva and Angirasa, right? So based on the revealer, Atharvana Veda has got the name, right? Among these 4 Vedas, Lord Krishna says, I am the most beautiful musical Samaveda. So all the people who belong to Samaveda will feel very happy about it. They can say proudly, I belong to Samaveda. But the problem is that in many rituals in Samaveda are very, very tiresome. Even Avani Avatam takes a very long time as compared to Yajurveda. Yajurveda is a lot simpler, right? But for claiming credit, people can claim because Lord has said that Vedanam Samavedosmi, right? And then I am the Samaveda amongst the Vedas. And Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. Among the Devatas, right? I am the celestial Vasavaha, right? The king of celestials is Indra, right? In the Veda, Indra is talked about very positively, right? But by the time the Puranas come, Indra's status has got changed, right? If you see, Vedas really talk greatly about Indra, right? But in Puranas, everywhere you will see that he is very scared of his post, right? And all the time he has a group of apsaras who's trying to disturb the tapas of other people, etc. But many Vedic mantras glorify Indra. So Bhagavan himself is often called Indra, and therefore Lord Krishna says, I am Indra, the prosperous one, right? Indra means who is prosperous, Indati, right? So Indriyanam, and then so Indra means the prosperous one, the Lord of heaven, right? So Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. And then the next glory is Indriyanam Manaschasmi. From the Devatas, Lord Krishna suddenly jumps to the individual himself. So we never study the glory of our organs. Generally, we don't know until we grow old and then we start having pain in one part or the other part of the body, right? So sometimes the ear fails, sometimes some other part fails, etc. Right? So like that, all Jnanendriyams and Karmendriyams, they are fantastic indriyams. We learnt about Jnanendriyams and Karmendriyams in Introduction to Vedanta also, all the different, the hand, legs, etc. And then the various sense organs of knowledge, right? Your eye, ears, etc. So Jnanendriyam and Karmendriyam, the 10 of them, right? They are all glories of the Lord, and all of them work together, backed by what? By another very powerful organ, which is the mind, right? So you will see that even if we are present in front of the computer and listening to this webinar and seeing what is there on the screen, sometimes briefly or sometimes even more than that, when your mind is not behind that, you are not able to concentrate, right? So suppose the mind goes away even briefly, even the best ears will not serve any purpose, right? So not only the mind makes them functional, but mind coordinates also between the sense organs, right? So for instance, you're writing and you're listening, assume you're writing notes and you're listening. It has to function in a coordinated manner. So mind coordinates all of these. So not only that, the efficiency of our actions is directly proportional to the availability of the mind, right? If mind is available at 10%, action also will be only 10% excellent, right? So mechanical action means the quality will be poor, right? So many times Swamiji says, suddenly we leave the house and go. And after going somewhere, you just think, did I actually lock the house? Because when you were locking the house, the mind was not behind the locking of the house. It happens very often. You can in fact be aware and actually look out for this, right? So therefore, in our culture, mind is considered to be a very important organ, right? So I am the master of the mind, right? If I am able to control and have a unpreoccupied mind, right? That's why before every ritual, where they say Mamo Partha Samasta, right? Duritakshaya Dwara. Before that, we want to take a sankalpa to convert the preoccupied mind into an unpreoccupied mind. Why? Because we are saying I'm going to start a significant ritual or a significant japa, like Manopartha Samasta, and then you complete it and say Gayatri Japamo Karishe. So you are going to now chant the japam. So let the mind be behind it, right? So suppose I've mastered the mind, right? Then it will not wander, and for 60 minutes in the class you will be able to actually focus. So it is a wonderful Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The entire Yoga Shastra is to develop this facility only. Very useful and important facility, which is converting a preoccupied mind into an unpreoccupied mind at my own will and decision, right? This is Yoga Shastra. Therefore, in our culture, mind is given a very high status. Bhutanam asmi chetana. In all the living beings, I am the chetana sentiency, right? So this is the next one. So the previously he said Indriyanam Manaschasmi. Now he says Bhutanam Asmi Chetana. I am the consciousness principle amidst all the living beings. Among Bhuta. Bhuta means living beings here, right? So that's why every living creature is considered sacred in Hinduism. In fact, Manusmriti gives a shloka in chapter 4, right? Adrohenaiva bhutanam alpadrohena va punaha. This portion states, by either you live your life by not harming any beings or by harming them very little. So our aim is to have a lifestyle in which we must first try to avoid harming others, right? Or if it is unavoidable, make it minimum harm. That is why vegetarianism is highlighted, because in the living beings other than the plant, manifestation of life is higher, and therefore experience of pain is also higher, right? So as we grow to grosser and grosser living being, right, like say plants, the experience of pain is minimum or nil. Therefore vegetarianism is better than non-vegetarianism, right? Bhutanam asmi chetana. Continuing. Rudranam Shankarashchasmi. Rudranam Shankarashchasmi. Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam. Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam. Vasunam Pavakaschasmi. Vasunam Pavakaschasmi. Merushikharinamaham. Merushikharinamaham. Again, Lord Krishna goes back to Puranas, mentioning the Devatas, right? While enumerating different Devatas, three groups of Devatas are very prominent, right? Known as Vasu, Rudra and Aditya, right? So those people who perform Shraddhams, they will be very familiar about Vasu, Rudra and Aditya, because the three generations of ancestors are represented in the form of Vasu, Rudra and Aditya. Vasu is a group of 8 Devatas presiding over the direction, right? So the word Rudra here does not refer to one of the trinities, but here the word Rudra refers to Ekadasha Rudra, right? 11, right? Ekadasha Rudra Devata, and another group is Dwadasha Aditya. So Ashtavasu, Ekadasha Rudra and Dwadasha Aditya. So this group is often enumerated. So when you total them, how much does it come to? 12 plus 11 plus 8 is 31 Devatas. Then their leader is supposed to be Indra. Then the guru of Indra is Brihaspati, right? So all of them put together, that's Prajapati. So they put together, it is 33 Devatas here, right? And interestingly, this group of 33 Devatas, that is Vasu, Rudra, Aditya, Indra, Brihaspati, they are called Havirbhujaha Devataha, right? So they are those who receive the oblations in the Vedic rituals. Havihi, Havis book actually comes from Havis and book. That means one who consumes the Havis that is put into the fire, sacred fire, right? So those who receive the oblations in the Vedic rituals. So these 33 Devatas alone, they express in manifold form because of their powers. They are called 33 crore Devatas, right? Because they are supposed to be the expressions of 33 Devatas. You have 33 crore Devatas who are further, subdivisions of these 33 only, right? So therefore he says Rudranam, right? Ekadasha Rudranam, right? That's why, see, what happens is when you do Ekadasha Rudram, you take care of invoking 11 Rudras in 11 Kalashams, and Sri Rudra is chanted, which has got 11 Anuvakas. So they take the material for Abhishekam also as 11 in number, right? So when they want greater benefit, what they do, they chant, they do 11 into 11 or 11 into 11 into 11. Thus Rudra Ekadashini, Ekadashi, Maharudram, Atirudram, etc. They're all proliferation of the same Rudra Devatas only. Therefore, Rudra is considered to be very good for the entire community, right? The worship of Rudra, because he removes dukkham or the cause of pain. That is why if you see, they do Maharudram, Atirudram, etc. Here, Lord Krishna says, Rudranam aham Shankaraha, right? So therefore, Rudranam, among the Ekadasha Rudra, I am Shankaraha. Shankara is a version of Rudra, the one who does all auspicious things. Mangalam karoti iti Shankaraha. So I am Shankara and Vittesho Yaksharakshasam. So Vittesho Yaksharakshasam, here it refers to another group of minor devatas, right? Or you can call them demigods, right? So Yaksha Gandharva, Kim Purusha, etc. Many are explained in the Shastram. Vittesho means Kuberaha, the lord of wealth. Wealth is very, very important, right? That's why if you see in the shloka, they say, Rajadi Rajaya Prasahya Sahine Namovayam Vaishravanaya Kurmaye Same Kaman Kama Kamaya Mahyam Kameshwaro Vaishravan Dadatu Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya Namaha, right? So, material prosperity is the foundation for spiritual pursuit. So, any person who does not have material needs, right, taken care of, he or she cannot come to Gita class because first that will have to be taken care of. Therefore, Lord Krishna is smart and he says, Kuberaha Yaksharakshasam Aham Vittesho. Basically, I am Vittesho. I am Kubera. And then he says, Vasunam Pavakashami. Vasu means the Ashtavasus, right? We just saw about it, presiding over the 8 directions. The 4 primary directions and the 4 secondary directions. Basically, southwest, north and east, and then northwest, northeast, like that, the combination. So, he says, I am Agni, Pavakaha, the Agni Devata, right? So, basically, the 8 Devatas represent the 8 different directions. And he says, I am the Agni Devata, right? Agni Devata presents twofold powers. One is that it is a destroyer of all the papams, right? Second one is it is the illuminator. It also represents knowledge, right? Destroyer of papam and producer of knowledge. So our entire spiritual pursuit involves these 2 stages only. Removing the papam and lighting up the lamp of knowledge, right? Jnana Agnihi, right? Sarva Karmani Basmata Kurute. So Agni the destroyer, Agni the illuminator. So Pavakaha is derived from the root pu, which is to purify, right? So Agni or Pavakaha is considered a purifier, right? Then Lord Krishna says, Meru Shikari Namaham. Among all the mountain ranges with great peaks, Shikari means peaked mountain ranges. Among them, I am Meru, right? Now, here there is 2 kinds of interpretation. One is, I am the greatest among Himalayas, the greatest one being Everest itself, right? So for Hindus, Himalaya itself is really great, right? And therefore we revere the northern direction itself into which represents Himalaya, right? So some people take Meru as a different type of mountain, which is the North Pole mountain. They take it as Meru, right? And sometimes they also take it in the center of the 14 lokas, right? So the sun, because somewhere it says the sun goes around the Meru, right? In Surya Namaskara mantra, it says Surya goes around the Meru. Therefore, they take it as either the North Pole, where 6 months you have sunrise, sun, and 6 months you have no sun at all, or you can take Meru as in the center of the galaxy or our universe, right? So Lord Krishna says that I am. Continuing. Purodhasam cha mukyam mam. Purodhasam cha mukyam mam. Viddhi partha brihaspatim. Viddhi partha brihaspatim. Senani namaham skandah. Senani namaham skandah. Sarasamasmi sagarah. Sarasamasmi sagarah. Purodaha means prohitaha, one who guides a Vaidika, right, in performing puja, japa, etc. the priest comes and tells us, right? Tell Mamo Partha Samasta, tell Om Bhuhu, etc. Right? So the Vedic teacher is called Prohita, right? And the gods in the heavenly world, right? The Devatas also have their guru mentioned. And according to Puranas, it is Brihaspati, right? Brihati means speech or knowledge, and therefore Brihaspati means the Lord of wisdom. Guru is called Brihaspati. Among planets also, Jupiter represents Guru. Guru means the Jupiter, and Guru word itself has two meanings. One is the teacher and the other is Guru, which is heavy, right? So if you take Jupiter also, it is the biggest and the heaviest planet, and therefore Guru, right? Therefore, I am the Deva Guru, right? The celestial Deva Guru among the Prohitas. So, Vidhi Partha Brihaspatim, Mam Vidhi, know me thus, right? And then Senani Namaham Skandaha. Senani means the one who is the commander of the Sena, the army of the Devas, right? So Devas also require an army because they keep facing problems from the Asuras, right? Whenever they get more power, they start attacking because they want to usurp Indra's position, right? Devasena also, Devasena also requires a commander. So Devasenapati is supposed to be Lord Subramanya, right? So the word Devasena has two meanings. Again, we have to note here. One is Devasena as women, a celestial woman who is the meaning of, who is the wife of Subramanya. So there is also a song which goes like Shri Valli Devasena Pate. So Devasena has a meaning of woman also, Mrs. Subramanya, right? So the second meaning of Devasena is the army of the Devas, and Lord Subramanya as the commander of the army, right? So in Surya Samharam and all, we saw that, right? So commander of the army, and because he is supposed to be the guru of Lord Shiva himself, he is also called Swaminatha, who taught the meaning of the Omkara mantra to Lord Shiva, Pranava mantra. Therefore, as Brahma Vidya Guru, also Subramanya is respected and revered. Therefore, Lord Krishna claims, I am Lord Subramanya, Aham Skandaha. He is called Skandaha because he emanated from the third eye of Lord Shiva. During the tapas, he appeared. Kumara Sambhava of Kalidasa, which is one of the biggest works, he talks about the origin of Kumara. And he says, the one who flows down is called Skandati iti Skandaha. I am Subramanya and Sarasamasmi Sagaraha. Right? Among all the reservoirs of water, Saras means reservoirs of water. I am Sagara, the ocean, which is very, very important for the earth. The balance of the life is maintained by the ocean only. Therefore, Lord Krishna claims that I am the ocean among the reservoirs of water. Right? On special days, Samudra Snanam is also done, and especially the Ganga Sagara Sangama Snanam is considered to be very, very holy, as Shankaracharya says, Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. He says in Bhajagovindam, right? So those days the Snanam was very important, the Samudra Snanam also. Okay, so we'll stop here because we're almost finished our time. So next week we will do this. So let us chant. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let me just check if there are any questions. There's a question from someone here. Maybe Mohan. I think you joined a little late. Why did God talk only about eminent things in creation and not the bad and ugly that I understand is part of him too? I explained that in the 10th chapter of Gita, which is called Vibhuti Yogam, only the glories are spoken about. And in the 11th chapter, everything will come in mixed, right? And then that is because Lord Krishna wants to take the Bhakta step by step and not, just push everything onto the bhakta at one time, because Arjuna himself at one point will not be able to take it and he will say, Krishna, I have understood, please resume your normal form from Vishwarupa form. So that is the reason it is just a stepping stone. Yeah, slightly out of syllabus. I'm learning Vishnu Sahasranamam. Could you advise when to chant it? You can chant at least, if possible, every day. Otherwise, if you're not chanting anything else, you can do it every day. Otherwise, once a week at least, because many of us have a routine of chanting different Sahasranamams on different days. So therefore, it may not be possible to do Vishnu Sahasranamam every day. But if it's possible, nothing like it. Yeah, somebody says I belong to Samaveda. Yes, I know people who belong to Samaveda feel very nice about it. Okay, are there any other hands raised? Just a second. Yes. Nilanjana, you have to unmute yourself. You self-muted, Nilanjana. Okay, maybe that was a mistake. Parvati, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hari Om. Yeah, Hari Om.
Hello.
I think Nilanjana is there.
Yes, yes. Nilanjana, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question was also that it said at times that Vishnu Sahasranama should be chanted on Ekadashis. So twice a month we have Ekadashi. So, so is that, I was just trying to understand because it's quite interesting, and when we are doing it along with Bhagavad Gita, I think it's very meditative, Vishnu Sahasranama. So then there is a Shiva, mantra. Then there is the Sri Lalita Sahasranama. So chanting everything on one day with, office and other commitments becomes very difficult. So hence I was trying to put some kind of a routine in.
Correct. In fact, I have been following this for many years because it's not possible to do everything on the same day. So you just have a routine. I have a Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, Wednesday, like that, different routines. And I also have the small ones. Instead of doing it as Parayanam during the puja hour, I have it as my night prayers, my early morning prayers, and different when I do certain things where I can chant, I also chant. Right, so it might be helpful to have a routine and do it. You cannot do everything on the same day. It's not possible.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, Parvati Bhagini, you can go ahead.
Hari Om Bhagini. This Om, no, Pranavakara, ladies are not supposed to chant that like that, they say. So, is it okay, or because daily we are chanting that, no?
See, if you see that way, we chant every nama that we chant has Om in front of it. So anyway, as a stepping stone, let me give you an answer like this. When you are looking at, say, Ishtadevata Upasana, we anyway say Om Shivaya Namaha or Om Vishnave, or we use Om in front of the Nama for the Ishtadevata. Now, when you get to a stage where you are in Nishkama Bhakti stage and you're looking at Arupa Ishvara, etc., you will understand the significance of Om also. Once you get to Mandukya Karika and Mandukya Upanishad, we also understand the real significance of Om. Of course, I am going to touch upon it in the next class. I should have done it today, but I will be doing it in the next class. You will understand the significance of it, and I think at that stage, when you understand the big picture, the Vedanta journey itself, you will be a seeker, and therefore you will yourself be comfortable actually.
Okay, thank you.
Omkara Upasana is for advanced spiritual seekers, and you will see that after next class when I tell you the significance of Om.
Okay.
Shiva, you can go ahead.
One observation and one question. Observation is now on 22. He says, "I am the intelligence in all beings."
Correct.
So it implies that every being has got intelligence. We human being thinks no, we alone have intelligence, others don't have intelligence. But God has, He has told us, no, intelligence is there in every being, and that we need to understand.
Correct. It is just that it doesn't manifest as much as human beings. Yeah.
Or we are not able to understand that intelligence.
Correct. Correct.
And the second one is, see, when Lord is everything, why he here is restricting to one thing among, say, for example, among Vedas, 4 Vedas, why he is restricted to some Veda only? Similarly, among the so many, because he is everything and he is the creator of everything, why he is restricting to only one or two?
Very good question. You must remember that the context of Vibhuti Yoga, very important. I think I spoke about this at length even in the last class. Basically, the context of Vibhuti Yoga is that Lord is giving you alambanam, right? Alambanam means symbol, because your mind cannot go in multiple directions. Therefore, he is giving you a choice of symbols that you can pick up and invoke Ishvara on this. That is the reason why there are specific names picked up for it, because Arjuna requested for this. Is it clear? It's not that everything else is bad or anything. He picks because we need a symbol. We need something to hold on to. That is why we also go through Ishtarupa Devata, Upasana, etc. Because our mind is unable to focus on anything. You try expansion meditation. Okay, concentration meditation is a lot easier than expansion meditation, because when you try to meditate on the whole universe as Ishvara, it becomes very, very abstract and difficult. That is the reason why Krishna chooses. Otherwise, Krishna could have said, I'm the entire creation, you pick up something. Because Arjuna specifically requested, he has picked up one by one and he's saying, these are my, glories since you wanted me to pick up, and you can now, use this as a alambanam. You can use any symbol as alambanam. Everything is God's manifestation. Is this clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, please go ahead.
Namaste. Can you repeat that expansion meditation and elaborate more on that? What is that? Thank you.
Okay, let me tell you where you can find details on this. One is you can go through the section on meditation, which is available in Introduction to Vedanta. I've done it elaborately. And also in the chapter on Dhyana Yoga, which is chapter 6, I covered various types of meditation. And in brief, actually, it is concentration meditation, value meditation, relaxation meditation, expansion meditation, and Vedantic meditation. So I spoke about how you start with relaxation meditation, and then concentration meditation is actually using a mantra like, say, Shiva Manasa Puja or any of them, or it can even be a japa, to concentrate and meditate. And when you want to expand your mind, you think about the all-pervading aspects of, para prakriti as well as apara prakriti, or in simple terms, the various manifestations of the Lord in the creation as Panchabhutas, the sky, Akasha, Prithvi, etc., and then meditate upon that. It helps in expanding the mind. You can get details in Introduction to Vedanta lesson on meditation itself. You can locate it.
Okay, so introduction of Vedanta, which you covered, right?
Yeah, Introduction to Vedanta course, and I've also covered Jnana Yoga chapter, which is chapter 6.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Both of them. Yeah. Anybody else? I think everybody has with. Let me just check the questions also. Yeah, there is some question here. Who is Marichi among the Maruts? Yes. Here it's not the sage. Here it is the Marichi is the gentle breeze amongst all the 49 variations that is talked about. Okay. So I think I've answered all the questions. So next week we will meet again. Hari Om.